Zombie foreclosures. What are they? Have you heard this term? Well, they're these abandoned homes. They're half-finished properties that basically are used to drag down neighborhoods. I'm not sure if you live in one of those neighborhoods, but they're at their lowest levels now in years, which is great because that's kind of a huge shift than it used to be in the past. Because new stats show zombie foreclosures are way down across the country, which is a totally different picture from the post-recession days. So why is that happening? What's the real question? What does this mean? Well, are we looking at a stronger, more resilient housing market, or is there more going on with all this? So we're going to break it down, why these foreclosures that are called zombie foreclosures have faded, and what it might mean for you if you're thinking about buying or selling real estate. So let's get started. I think we'll start with the current foreclosure landscape. Let's think about that. I found this recent article from Atom, one of the top real estate analytic firms. I really like using them because they're really on point. And the total number of foreclosure, look at this. Filings over the U.S. have just under 30,000 in September. That's a pretty significant drop of 19% compared to last year. And what's even more encouraging is that foreclosure starts, which is the first step in the foreclosure process, it fell by 21%. In other words, what does that mean? Fewer people are falling into the foreclosures at all, right? And then the number of properties that get abandoned mid-foreclosure, these called zombie foreclosures, is lower than it's been in years. So this is a major change from the post-COVID spike we saw back in 2021 when the foreclosure moratorium ended. And many homeowners were suddenly at risk of losing their homes. So what we're seeing nationally is a pretty positive trend and basically cooling off foreclosures. Now, it might be different in your neighborhood, but this is for the national trend. And it's really helping create a more stable housing landscape. Although homes are still not coming on the market and the inventory is low, it's still a difference. And then I thought to myself, really, what's driving the drop? What's happening with all this, right? So why they're declining in my mind is that, and what Atom is saying as well, is the decline in foreclosures and especially the zombie properties, there's a couple of powerful factors, okay? First, homeowners today, they're actually in better financial position compared to the past economic downturns. Thanks to significant increases in home values over the last decade, most homeowners have built up a lot of equity in their home, which is essentially the portion of their home that they truly own, that equity, right? It gives you options. You can take your money out and invest in other things, or you can make the property more effective and usable, add an addition, things like that. And they can sell their home and cash out on some of their equity if they need to, or they can refinance it rather than face foreclosures, other options. Also, let's talk about housing demand. It's still high, right? At least I know here in Philly in the burbs. And inventory is really tight, and especially in our area, in many areas for the whole United States. That means that even if a home is abandoned mid-foreclosures, buyers are ready to swoop in anyway, which prevents that property from actually becoming a lingering empty zombie, and the demand has kept these zombie foreclosures to a minimum. Atom came out with a report, and here it is, seeing that just one zombie property for every 14,591 homes in the United States. That's one of the lowest rates we've seen in the last 5 years. So that's really, really great. I can remember in 2008 when everything was getting foreclosed on. So the low zombie foreclosure rate showed that in general the housing market is strong and homeowners have more options to avoid foreclosure, even if they face financial challenges. There's money in their home that they can take out of or use, things like that. Now, there is an exception to this. There's some high foreclosure rates in certain states. And that's where it gets a little more complex there, because zombie foreclosures, although they're down overall, certain states are showing a different trend, such as Illinois, Florida, Delaware, for example, have some of the highest foreclosure rates as reported in this report here in the country right now. In September alone, Florida had a huge 2,511 foreclosure starts, and states like California, Texas, and Illinois, they each reported over 1,000. So I don't know, why these states, right? Why these particular states? I think what we're seeing here and what they're saying here is largely a result of affordability challenges and local economic pressures, and sometimes just plain market volatility. For example, some of the areas have experienced significant increases in housing costs and economic shifts that make it harder for homeowners to keep up with their mortgage payments. That's what's happening. And the Atom report, that actually the CEO, Rob Barber, is a great guy. He says that while the national foreclosure trend is positive, these spikes in the certain states suggest that some regions are facing localized challenges, high interest rates, high property taxes, or even industries struggling to keep up with the changes in the economy. So right now, if you think you're finding this video helpful and valuable, hit this like button, the subscribe button. Need your help. Help will grow out. Looking to get into 1,000 subscribers by the end of Thanksgiving. I really need your help. And being a top producer here in Pennsylvania, I'm number 3 in my company here in PA, we do a lot of real estate, and we do a lot of introducing of people who don't have a realtor like us, can help you through the process in other states. So if you need an introduction, we can introduce you to someone in your area. Go down below to the agent finder and we'll find for somebody for you. So what else do we see happening? I think economic pressures and rising interest rates are really, or probably one of the biggest factors in shaping the housing market right now. I know interest rates just went up. I have a buyer looking, and it was 6.75 and now it's 7.25. Put an offer in the same house, you know. The Federal Reserve recently cut its benchmark rate twice, and you think this would ease mortgage rate a bit, but it hasn't. It hasn't been the case. So mortgage rates are still holding high. The average fixed rate, you know, it's just creeping up, especially the last week. But if you're in states like Illinois, Florida, where home affordability is already strained, the high rates only add more pressure, right? And that also means that even with low national foreclosure rates, there are local markets where, say, homeowners are struggling to keep up, increasing the risk of foreclosure in those specific regions. So it's a reminder that while the overall numbers look great, the impact of the high mortgage rates can vary significantly depending on where you live and the economic pressures in your area. So if you live in Philly in the burbs, give me a call. My information is below. Anytime, text or call us. We can give you insight of what's happening in your particular pocket. So next, I just want to touch base on what's the impact of right now for the housing market. How's this going to impact the market in general? So while the foreclosure levels are still way below what we saw during the Great Recession, those localized spikes in certain states could have a ripple effect. Who knows? The places with, say, these high foreclosure rates, property values, they could soften, and we could see a slower market activity, which could impact local communities and overall neighborhood stability. So there's another side to this, though. I think nationally, the housing inventory is actually up, reaching levels we haven't seen since early 2020. Not as much in my area here, but I do see it nationally. And that's welcome news to buyers. They hear this, though, on the radio, and they come here to Philly, and they're like, that's not really happening in a lot of pockets here. So that's where I come in to educate our buyers and let them know what's going on in our market. But with inventory on the market and more of it, buyers will now have choices and maybe a little bit of negotiating power. We can start doing home inspections. I don't know, but I haven't seen it in our area yet. But I would say if foreclosures do continue rising in those specific areas, we might see an increasing divide between stable housing markets and those under pressure from high foreclosures and, say, affordability challenges and economic issues. So let's look ahead. Let's look ahead here. What's the future of foreclosures? What's the future of our market here? What is next? Well, I took out this report, and this one excerpt from it, from Atom's report, and Rob Barber says, he believes that while we can expect overall foreclosure rates to stay low, certain areas under heavy economic strain could see more foreclosures. So be aware of that. And the post-pandemic housing market, I think it's still in a much better place than it was in 2008. So everybody thought this was going to be this great recession and prices are going to fall, but they're not, and that's just due to a stronger home equity and solid demand. I have like 7 or 8 30-year-old buyers in that range want to buy right now, and it's really tough, but it's getting better. And it's clear that economic shifts or new policy changes could still affect foreclosure trends. We'll see what happens here. So what's the key takeaway right now? So if you're a buyer or an investor, keep an eye on local trends. It's really, really critical to do that. Areas with high foreclosure rates might offer some unique opportunities for investment, but they also come with risk, like instability in neighborhoods or fluctuating property values. So you don't have to watch what you're buying. And it's also about weighing the pros and cons based on what's happening in your area. And that's kind of where we come in as professionals to give advice. So today's housing market, it might not be haunted by these zombie foreclosures like we saw a lot back in 2008. If you don't remember that, I do. I got through that one. But I think the states like Illinois and Florida, it kind of reminds us that affordability and interest rates still play a really huge role, right? But stay informed and keeping close, watch my videos, and then just make smart, strategic real estate decisions, okay? So that's a wrap today. If you found this helpful, please subscribe. Got tons more insights, and we have some more YouTube channels that we're starting up. So we'll see you on the next one, and have a great day here in beautiful Philadelphia fall day.